Hey, how's it going? My name is Philip Jones, and I'm brother Mr. Tifiro Cook here. As always, every week, never fails. So, today we have a different show for you. Today we're gonna do a topic discussion on. I'm gonna go ahead and let Mr. Cook go ahead and tell you what the topic discussion is today.
Our goal today is to talk about your wellness while you wait for an organ. You can be waiting for a heart, a lung, a liver, pancreas, kidney, all these things, but you still have to focus on your wellness too. So it's almost like a double-edged sword, if you will. You're battling organ failure, and but with that being said, if you're waiting still, you still have to focus on your wellness. And your wellness is a full round thing. It's not just your physical health, but it's your spiritual health, your emotional health, and your mental health, your state of mind also. So these things are really, really big. It's when it comes to organ failure, a lot of people think you just got to focus on the organ. No, you got to focus on all these things. So we wanted to talk about wellness. We wanted to talk about the full aspect around wellness, and a lot of times, like I was talking to Philip earlier today, when people get sick, they just get sick in a way of uh, the majority, I'll say, get sick like, okay, a week or so, 10 days. But when it comes to organ failure, sickness, it could be years. These things last for years. It could be, you could be waiting for decades, like myself, like Phil, literally wait for decades. So it takes on a whole different approach, because it becomes a real marathon, not just saying a marathon, but a real marathon, and you're living this marathon. But with that being said, you still have to take care of the wellness piece of your life, and that's what we wanted to focus on today. So we could start, just the first thing I'll say with keeping your wellness is keeping your emotions at a good. And what I mean by emotions is, I'll say, your frame of mind. Keeping your frame of mind in a positive state, a positive frame of mind, where you're going through all these things, everything, with your physical, and then you got to keep your state of your mind healthy. And that's the biggest challenge, because if your mind isn't right, your physical health is going to go down no matter what. And I've seen this happen when I was on dialysis. I did PD, then I did hemo. And when I was doing hemo, I seen people literally give up right in front of my eyes, to the point where, I seen it. They stopped coming to treatment. Their state of mind started fluctuating in the negative. Everything was going down, down, down. And those people I truly miss, because they passed away. And they gave up. Mentally, they gave up mentally. And when you give up mentally, your physical is going to follow. And some music going on.
Oh, that was I. Unfortunately, that was the ice cream truck.
Okay, okay. But yeah, like I said, man, your physical goes down once you give up it mentally. And I would hear it in their voice. Sometimes they'd be like, getting mad about the smallest little things, and finding problems with everything. But when it comes to this type of stuff, you have to stay so mentally sharp and mentally positive, because these waits, like I said, you might be waiting a decade, you might be waiting 2 or 3 years, something like that. So it takes on the marathon thought process of your mental mind, your mind state, and your positivity. And you have to look for things to be positive with for. You know, when I was waiting to get my transplant, I was always, keeping myself busy, either working on a car, working on a motorcycle or something like that. And I always had something to live for. And that's what I tell people, always, what do you want? What's driving you? What's motivating you to keep on going when you're in this frame of mind? And Phil, I ask you that right now with your situation. What's your motivation right
I forgot I was muted that quick. Outside of doing this show, um, I had a number of things that kept me going and fighting. Uh, the first thing that kind of started my mental change to get me to push and keep fighting was when I started going back to school to become a teacher. So when I did that, I entered a program called Urban Teachers Fellowship that was ran by awesome professor Dr. Marie Smith. That'll actually be on our show in a couple months. But she helped me so much and gave me a way to, kind of escape, I guess you could say. Like you gotta have that time to escape every once in a while.
Yeah.
Clear your mind, get
Mhm.
yourself together, and come back to it to continue your fight. So as I was in this program, we were going to conferences and things like that, like almost every 2 months and staying in different hotels and stuff like that in the state. And so that gave me some time to get away. I was getting away, but I was also working. But I was doing stuff that I love to do, which
Mhm.
was to learn about being a better teacher, to teach the
Mhm.
kids and things like that. Um, so I ain't gonna get too deep into that, but that's one thing. The second thing was when I started getting back into theater.
Okay.
I was able to. I was provided another family to add to my life. That was there for me every step of the way. We've won awards and things like that. And it's been a great time and able to meet a different group of people that have that really don't know too much anything about kidney transplant or organ failure in general. There's a couple people who have family members and things like that that deal with those things so that they know. But for most of everybody else, they're kind of lost a little bit. But to have that family added to my life is something that definitely kept me fighting. Doing theater itself, I love doing theater. I love acting. I love being on stage, and to be able to make a difference because of the type of theater that we do. So that was number two. Number three for me was my niece. 2 years ago, my niece was born January 20th. I was very excited for that because I had some uncles that were very important to my life. Lost one about 5 years ago that was, it was unexpected, but he was very, very instrumental in my life. And so, I told myself, I said, if I can be half the uncle these two were, and they were brothers. They my dad, older brothers. I said, I'm good. I'm golden. I said, this girl's gonna come out great, you know. And so she's growing. It seems like every time I see a picture or see her, she's gotten bigger. She's gotten heavier, But that was something that brought a lot of joy to my life and made me want to work more and that's part of outside of why we do this show, she's part of the reason why I do this because I want to be, if with us being sick, we don't know, and we hope that we stay here for a long period of time, even after diagnosis, after transplant or whatever. But we don't know when that time's gonna come. And I told myself if it happens to be, earlier than I want to be able to leave her something to know me by if it happens to be before that, that kind of permanent memory steps in for a person or for a child. So she would know who I am and I just wasn't some dude walking on earth taking up people's air.
Right.
So that's pretty much yeah, I said like, and doing this show, man, hearing the people's stories is something that's very important to me. And I did the platform the way I did it was because one thing I know is that us as patients, we don't get to tell our story the way we want to.
Right.
Nine
Right.
times out of 10, I was like, hey, can you keep it at 15 minutes? Or
Right.
can you keep it at 20 minutes? And so I said, I wanted to give a platform to people to be able to tell their whole story, because the whole thing is very important.
Right.
And so for people to get that, sometimes it may be lengthy. Like, I know mine and yours is like, if we told like everything literally from day one to today, we'd be sitting up here probably like 3 days before we finish.
I mean, you too. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but one thing I like what you just said, man, was you know, I used to ask people, what they, what's motivating you, man? What's your reason, to be here, to keep on doing, keep on hanging in there. And people would try to, dig deep into their and try to find something, try to find something why they were here, why they were living. You had three things right off the bat, and that's beautiful, man. Because when you have those already, those are those carrots we hold up in the air to strive for. You want to see your niece do good. You love theater. You want to be a teacher. All these things like that are the things that's motivating you to, keep on, moving the needle. And then, you on this podcast. You know what I'm saying? You can, you truly ain't feeling sorry for yourself. You're out here moving the needle for everybody in this organ failure world. And that's beautiful, man. So my hat goes off to you, brother, just for having those things that you want to live for, and that's beautiful. Like I said, I've seen so many people not have one thing to live for, and when you don't have anything to live for, you're gonna start spiraling down. It's not even a support system thing. It's like you be feeling like, why am I going through this? I mean, I keep it real, man. The time when I was doing dialysis for a long, long time, I had some moments like, why am I here? What, God, give me a reason why I'm here. And then and I still had reasons to live for, but still, you still have those moments. So I
right.
love that, man. I love what you said. But again, the mental aspect of what you're going through, to me, it felt like kind of I was out like treading water in the middle of the ocean, waiting for somebody to throw me a little life preserve, so I can just catch on to it. Because I kind of felt sometimes like ain't nobody even listening to me, ain't nobody even hearing me. Everybody moving on with their life, doing what they doing, and I never wanted to get in that situation like, why me? But from what Eddie said, Eddie Drake, why not? It was like, why not me? And
Right.
he says that he speaks for myself too, because I was saying that too. Like, why not me? Why
I
not?
think we all did at one
Yeah,
point. We
exactly.
questioned that, like, why, why to have that, especially I think it gets said more for uh older. And when I say older people, I don't mean older people like 60. I'm saying like older people as in compared to younger people, 2, 7, 10, ages like that, because uh you made it past everything you're supposed to make it past, pretty much in life, to be able to live and live. You went through school, graduating, got a job, doing your thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, all that's going to go on hold,
Right.
and it's a messed up situation. I think it was easier for me because I had it so young. I have great doctors who are always there. Even though it irritated my soul, they were every time I had an appointment. I had an appointment every month. It was once a month, like clockwork. I had to come in to see my pediatric nephrologist. I had two great pediatric nephrologists before I went to peritoneal dialysis, Dr. Carr and Dr. Peterson. And like I said, I mentioned it before, they were best friends. So it was like not even changing doctors when I had to make that switch. It
Mm-hmm.
was just like the same person. But I had them telling me literally every month, you're gonna need a transplant, right? You're gonna need a transplant, right? Yeah, and I'm like, I'm looking at them in my mind, I'm going, if you tell me this one more time, we're going to have an issue right
Yeah.
now, because but I thank them for that, because it got me ready.
Right.
Because the day he told me, he's like, hey, look, he said, your function is declining rapidly. So, and at the time, like I said, I lived on 30% my whole life and up until that point. So declining rapidly from 30 isn't too much, ain't too much further down you can go,
Really,
and
really.
you're already down there pretty much. So, um, but when he told me that, he's like, hey, uh, I need to put you on dialysis. We need to get you on the list, get ready for a transplant. And I was just like, okay, because all the times he pushed that on me, you're gonna need a transplant. You're gonna need a transplant. You're gonna
I mean,
dialysis.
but hearing that going back, what was your frame of mind thinking? Like, did you
As
like?
he was telling me about about needing, it was whenever it comes, I'll be ready. Still scared, but still prepared.
Right, I got you on that.
And I think where the preparedness for me came from was having to watch my grandmother go through it, because she dealt with kidney failure at the end of her time here on Earth, and had to go to dialysis 3 times a week in center.
Mhm.
And that was, shoot, 19, I think, like 96, 97, somewhere around there. And so watching her fight every day, my dad, me and my dad had to come go pick her up from her house, and carry help, not carry her, but help her down the steps, because you have about 2 or 3 steps going down, from in front of the house. And took her to dialysis and stuff like that. And my grandmother, my grandfather were, you know, my rock. They were what got me to, where I am now at this point in my life, because they were the ones when I first got sick. Um, I had a big seizure, in the living room in their house. And so the love and their rapid reactions is what got me, to the hospital in time. They called my dad, and luckily he only worked, shoot, 5 minutes away. So they called him and he got out of there quick, came and got me, took me to a children's hospital out here in Los Angeles. And it just, the timing couldn't have been better, because they were able to see me have one of those seizures as I came in the hospital. So as soon as they saw it, they knew exactly what the issue was, which is where I got lucky. Them being able to see that, as opposed to having to wait, miss out, do certain tests that they didn't really want to do, and and things of that nature. But my grandparents, man, are, I lived with them for a while, and I love them, still love them till this day. All my grandparents,
That's beautiful.
and so, but they are a real big, even though they hadn't, they've been gone for 20 some years, but uh, they are a big part of my journey.
It
Even
feels like it sounds like they instilled some real character in you because for me knowing you and everything, you never taken on the victim mentality, and that's another thing I see with a lot of people when I work with a lot of patients, kidney care coaches and stuff. The first thing I hear is this victim mentality. Go back to, man, why me? And it goes back to that, but it also goes back to the victim mentality of, the reason I didn't take my medicines because of this. The reason I didn't do this because of this. The reason I didn't run my treatment was because of this. So that's the victim mentality, and I never heard that from you. You always stepped up to the plate, and that's another one I want to talk about. We cannot be victims. Everybody. Some people might not be going through what organ failure and stuff like that, but some people might be going through a mental struggle. You know what I mean? And again, with that being said, your wellness is the full packet of it, it's the full gamut. So I recognize when people are victims, and I try to slow that process down. You've been to centers and work with pediatric kids and stuff like that yourself, and what do you say to the kids when you see that victim mentality coming from them?
um, I'm gonna put it like this. This is what I would say if I because I've never met a child that's just like, I want to give up or I don't care or anything like that. So um, I guess in a way it would be more to, I mean, and this is kind of where for a kid, and maybe I'm wrong for this because this is just how I grew up. I was in church pretty much my whole life, so I've always had a connection, knowing that God is number one in my life, and He's the reason why I'm still here today. So I'm not necessarily going to say what I was in that sense, but I would make I guess you could say in the sun, or try to figure out if they are religious, if they so that way I don't say the wrong thing to them in that sense, or if I know if I need to go past it, I should say, if they aren't believers in Christ, or like I am, because I'm a person that doesn't like to offend other people because of religion, because I'm.
Well, I'm talking about like I'm talking about and this might not be just for kids either. It could be just
Mm,
anybody. When you see that victim mentality, like like it's crazy. When I was doing in center, I would see people sitting right beside me, and everyone we're all brought up different, but I would see
yeah,
people being having this victim mentality, always complaining about something wasn't right. you know in this situation again, I'm talking about like how do we prevent that? And that might not be from kids, that could be from anybody's standpoint. When we see the victim mentality, how do we stop that? That's where I'm going.
I think the biggest thing is something I touched on earlier, is finding out what is it that drives you to live without having organ failure. What were you pushing for in the beginning? It has to be the same thing that pushes you to get back there. Once you find out you're dealing with organ failure. So if you love playing basketball, well, you need to get yourself healthy again to be able to get back on the court. Or if
Right,
you play baseball, you need to figure out a way how to get your swing back to get back on the field.
right,
You have to find something uh that can get you to push yourself to get yourself back to your normal setting in life,
right.
because that's kind of where the depression part sits in, which is a
Yes,
big part of the wellness, is when you're not back in your normal setting of life. That's where you start to sit, think, dwell on, why me, what ifs, why am I going through this, that those types of things. So you have to be able, or find something new. If you got to find, if your physical shape isn't where it used to be to do the things you used to do, well, you need to figure out something else.
right.
If
And
you
there's a
if
lot of
you
things.
are, go ahead.
There's a lot of things you can do. You're right about that. It doesn't have to be physical. There's all kinds of stimulating games you can play for your mind and everything, and all kinds of stuff you can do. And it doesn't have to be physical. I played sports at one time, but my physical is nowhere near it used to be. So therefore, I'm looking for things to do
Me
outside of,
too.
yeah, besides being physical, but still stimulating too. And I
Right,
like,
right.
and I like what you said also when you were. I apologize if I interrupted you, but I like what you said when you was talking about your spirituality, and that's another part of your wellness. So you brought up in the church. I was too, and so those things right there is keeping your spiritual faith strong. Also, it has a lot to do with your mental. I mean, it has a lot to do with your wellness. Also, if you believe in that God's going to always have you, and your faith is strong, that has a lot to do with propelling you to reach your goals no matter what, if you have any type of organ failure. And I think that has a lot to do with it too. So you can go ahead and elaborate on that when you was going with that.
Well, the main thing I would say about when it comes to spirituality is prayer. Prayer is very important,
Whoa,
you
okay.
know. But the thing about
It works.
what's crazy though about people in prayer is that people think that they need to just basically, in a sense, I mean, it's not completely true, but some people just put words together, when they pray. But what they don't understand is that uh, and at this time, I'm more or less talking to Christian people, Catholic people who believe in God. Um, you have to be very specific in what you're praying for.
Agree.
You know, your words are the contract or
Mm-hmm.
what you're asking for from Him.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm gonna give. I mean, this is kind of something that's off the subject, but you know, just to kind of sense of
I
what
think
I
if
mean.
it's about wellness, it's not off the subject. Wellness is the full gamut. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say it like that. You know, wellness is everything.
Right. So, well, I was talking more or less my example I was going to say, but
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you good. Um, if you're looking for somebody to be when you just say, you know, let's say, you know, a guy is saying, um, you know, Lord bless me with a great woman. Okay, He gonna bless you with a great woman. Doesn't mean she gonna look like what you want her to look like. You know, I mean, you might want somebody with some size on it, and you mess around against you like, well, I don't really like, you know, but you weren't specific in what you wanted, you know. So, you know, when it comes to prayer, you have to be specific in what you're asking God to bless you with. You know, so and also prayer doesn't mean that you have to ask for something. Prayer could just mean a conversation with him. You know, talk to him, conversate with him, you know, thank him anytime you driving down the freeway or whatever, you know. I mean, because at the end of the day, the reason why you're here, that glory goes to him regardless. So, uh, you
I
know,
think,
I'm
I
not
think
gonna get too deep into that, but
But I think what you're saying is real big, man, because even, you know, like you know, when I was, you know, on dialysis, man, I was grateful for dialysis, man. A lot of people, you know, be sitting there like, I hate it. Man, I was so thankful because it was the only way keeping me going. You know, it let me do what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? It let me be with my friends, be with my family. They still could see me, even though, you know, they might not have been seeing the best of me, but I was still here on this earth. You know, I still had a
right,
fighting chance. You know, it was giving me another day on this earth, you know, until I could get an organ. So, you know, they threw me a lifeline. But
right,
that to me, that was being grateful. So I was more grateful than get up in the morning like, man, I gotta do this dialysis. I was like, hey, thank you, because that's the only way I had kidneys working. So
right.
that's I changed. And I think if you look at things different, you know, I think if your perspective, if you look at something negative, then that's how it's going to be. But if you change your perspective on it, and that's how I kept my perspective. Like, hey, sure, thank you for letting me do this, because I can go work out, I can do a whole bunch of things, man. Because if it wasn't for this, there'd be no more Tifiro. It was a wrap, you know.
You
So
know, it's crazy. You brought up something, you know, not too long ago, a little bit earlier, um, about how it feels like you kind of like, you know, just kind of stuck in the middle of the ocean. And it's crazy because I had that exact dream last night. I
mm,
literally was in the middle of drowning in the middle of the ocean, bro. Like, and I'm
uh,
like trying my best. First off, I was stuck in it because I can't swim, period. So,
we
so,
gonna get you. Hey, we get you some lessons. I
so
don't ever want to hear that again,
for
because I feel
me,
pretty good.
I was like, I'm like trying my, like, I'm staying in one spot, trying to get to the top and get my head above water, right? And I'm not moving. And I'm looking and I'm just like staring in this big body of water, you know, and sometimes dreams just feel real.
Man, okay.
And I'm like, and
Yeah.
all I can think, bro, in my mind, first off, this is where I should have known it was a dream. I'm in the middle of the ocean, drowning, but I'm taking breaths. Right then, I should have woke up like, man, you know, but at the same time, as I'm doing that, I'm still thinking about the dangers around me. You know, when you're in a big body of water, sometimes it takes for something to get right here for you to understand what the purpose is going on. So it's like you might be looking for an answer, but it's gonna take for it to smack you in the face for you really to see what that answer is. You asking God for this and asking him for that and asking him for this, but don't see what he's already placed by you.
Yeah, that's where that gratitude comes in. That's where you got to be thankful for, that next breath of air, staying present and being thankful for that right now. Because sometimes we look so far away, asking for things, and not being grateful for what's there right now. And that goes back to what I was saying, man. When I was on dialysis, I was
Mhm.
grateful as heck. But those dreams, man, you might need to look that up and find out what was going on with that.
Man, it was, bro. When I tell you, I'm like, I was so lost in what was going on, bro. I'm like, all I can see, I was just like, really, I'm like, I can see myself like trying to get to, but I wasn't moving. Like,
Right.
you're moving, was going nowhere, was in the same spot. And I'm like, I swear to you, all I could do was look. I'm like, it's a shark coming. Like, I, I know it's a shark or a whale or something is coming, and I'm done. This is not gonna work. This is not gonna end well for me whatsoever. And next thing I knew, I was waking up and I was like, man, that sucked. Like it's like if you watch it on YouTube, because people go deep sea diving all the time, and they video sharks and whales and things, and you look, you're like, dang, that's cool. I'm in a dream, and I was like scared for my life, bro. Like I'm
Right.
like, this is not something that I need, and this is why I don't get in the water now,
Well, I
because
know you was happy when you woke up, like, whew, man, okay.
right. But what's funny is that immediately when I woke up, I realized I was breathing. That was the first thing that came to my mind when I woke up.
Right.
I said, how did I not realize that during the dream? Because I remember exactly what was going on. I'm going, like, like when you if you ever been swimming before you can really swim well, you've been in that situation where it's like, you mess around and jump in a deep end too early, and you like trying your best to get back to the top, and you like trying to take a breath without taking a breath. Like you trying to maneuver stuff to get that breath in you to make it to the top. I actually had a situation where I almost drowned. Uh, I was young, probably about 7, 8 years old, and I was at my aunt's house, and she had a pool, and she had like stuff in the pool, stuff to lay on, stuff, chill in the pool type toys, and I was trying to get it because it wasn't too far, So I put my foot out there, and I'm trying to bring it into me so I can grab it, and my foot slipped. So I went from being on the side to being in the pool, and I don't ask me how this happened, but at that time I never had let nobody ever taught me anything like that. Like I've had times where like my stepmom taught me when I was younger. We had a pool in our apartment, things of that nature, and I remember as I was like getting myself together, I was looking, and I realized where I was and how far from the top I was. And it was funny because I saw my cousin jump in, and he jumped in. And don't ask me how I did this. I couldn't tell you because I still can't do it to this day. But I swam to the top. I ain't had no lessons, nothing. I don't even remember what I did to even try it again in the pool. So it was funny because as I get up, he met me at the top, and he said, "You made me jump in this pool. You can swim." I was like, "Oh, believe me, I didn't do that. That was Jesus. Please understand that it was just not my time to go because." I've never learned how to swim a day in my life up until that point. So, but
Right.
yeah,
Well, we're gonna. That's cool, man. That's cool. But let's go back to another subject on here.
mhm.
This is on the physical side. Now your labs. If you have organ failure, you have to keep good labs, and so that means if If you have any type of organ failure, I could talk about kidney organ failure because I know about those labs. I know about some others too, but I can elaborate on that. But if you do have organ failure, you're going to find out about some labs your doctors are going to tell you about, and they're going to give you some prescription medications for those. You have to keep those labs well. You have to keep them up to standards, okay? And the reason why is two reasons. The main reason is because they're going to be, if you keep your labs in good standings, your health is going to be better. The second, and that's the biggest one. I'm just going to elaborate, talk about that a little bit, because while you're waiting for any organ, you definitely want to keep your those labs are going to keep you healthy. Those taking your medications, eating right, the proper way to eat, all these things like that are going to keep you well. And that's going to be, and again, you don't know how long it's going to be for you to get an organ. That's why it's important for those labs to be in good standings. Okay, that's very very important. Another part of that, those labs are the hospitals want to see you be compliant, adherent to those medications and labs. That's the second part of that. So if they see you doing what you're supposed to be doing on your labs and also being compliant with everything, that's the part they want to see. If you're healthy and then you're compliant, that goes a long way for you getting another organ, whether it's a heart, lungs, kidney, pancreas, any of those things, liver. They want to see those labs. They want those labs to be good. And when you're not good, the biggest thing can happen is you not get on the transplant list. And the transplant lists are long on all those factors. So you have to make sure you keep those labs in good standings. Okay, that goes a long way with your wellness. That goes a long way with your accountability, because they don't want to give an organ to somebody whose labs don't look good, who don't keep up with their stuff, because they feel like they don't have too much confidence in you that you're going to do the right things when you get this organ. And that's big. Take it from me. Yeah, compliance is the key. Like my girl Erica just said, she's right about that. I know firsthand. So, I speak about it because I lived it. So that, you got to be compliant. And that's a big thing about those labs.
Let's touch on something that goes into compliance that we were going to talk about earlier, which goes towards kidney patients, which is kidney patients who are on peritoneal dialysis, or I don't know exactly how the home hemo part works when it comes to this subject. But if it counts you into, then please listen up. Um, your records are just as important as what Mr. Cook was talking about when it comes to uh, your labs and things of that nature, because um, if you can't do something as simple as in write down your blood pressure, your UF and those things like that come from that, then who's to say that you don't put the work in to take care of a kidney? And that's what they want to see. They want to make sure that you can follow everything that your nephrologist or cardiologist or any of these doctors. And this specific thing is not just for kidney patients, but being able to stay compliant, like he
Yeah.
said, is what's going to
Just all those. Yeah.
right. Which is being compliant is what's going to either make you or break you in a sense. It's either going to put you on a list or keep you from being on it.
Yep.
Right. And so I'm trying to keep this kind of short, but a lot of people that watch know that I'm, on my way back to being on the list. And so I was on the list for about 4 or 5 years. And just to let you know how important compliance is, right? Um, they turned this into a compliance issue because they didn't want to have to admit they messed up, but that's not the point to the story. I just didn't want you guys to think that I was not compliant. That was my point. Um, but I had two situations that put me in a position to be taken off the list, which was the first one was KT over V. Anybody that's on peritoneal dialysis knows what KT over V
Hemo
is.
too. Hemo, they do the same thing. KT over V. Yep.
Okay, so K2, basically what K2 over V is the number that lets you know if the regimen that you're on for dialysis is working correctly for you, is cleaning out all the toxins and things like that
Proper
in your
adequacy.
blood. Right. And so when you're on PD, you have to get this yourself, take it to the lab, get blood drawn, turn in your dialysate, and and then they'll you give your numbers and stuff like that for that day to your clinic team, your nurses and stuff like that, and they come up figure out what the number is. So I had a date set. They said I need you to get your K2V. I said all right, cool, no problem. Did my K2V stuff here, went and took it to the doctor, I mean to the to do my labs and stuff. And to ask, when you notice something wrong, question it. Don't just be like, oh, okay, whatever, and keep going.
Number one, be
Question,
your own advocate. Be your own
be
advocate.
on it, be very proactive.
Be your own advocate. Be your
Right.
best advocate, like Mr. Kidney says. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there as I'm doing my blood work, and I notice there's only one vial there, one tube, and I'm like, normally I got like 6 or 7, when I do my blood work. I'm like, why is there only one here? Like, this is, weird. I'm just like, maybe something I missed. Maybe it's not all my blood, that needed today. Maybe I got to come back. So did that one. I left. And normally they call me back that evening because I went early in the morning. They call me back that evening. Hey, Mr. Jones, you passed, or whatever, or hey, can you go do it again just so you can make sure, whatever, however the conversation goes. And I didn't get that. He didn't even call me the next morning. So I'm like, okay, something's wrong because they normally have already called me already. Went, called him up, and he goes, how can I help you? I said, nobody called me about my KTOV. He said, well, give me a second, let me check. Normally he would have known that answer without checking.
Right.
So I knew something was wrong then. And he said, there's nothing here. And I said, what do you mean there's nothing there? He said, there's nothing here. So, he does some digging. He said, you know what? He said, there's one test here, but it's not for your KTOV. And I'm like, that makes no sense. So, not going to get so deep into it, but long story short, they blame me for not doing it on time. Right? Okay. That was strike one. Strike two was this. I do procreate shots. Right? Yeah. And so I put, EPO. Mm-hmm. So put my order in online. We could do it online out here. I don't know. Everybody else has gotten to that point yet. Got a day back. It said Friday at 12 o'clock. I said, cool. I showed up at 3 o'clock. When I got there, the person, the technician there, the pharmacist, she says, there's nothing here in the system. And I'm like, how is it nothing in the system? When I put the order in myself, I got a date, returned to everything. And she's like, there's nothing here. I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. That there's nothing here in this, in the system. So I said, okay, I got to put the order in again and get it. So long story short, I had an issue the very next day because I didn't get that shot, which put me in the emergency room, which made, caused me to be admitted.
Because your hemoglobin dropped a lot. Is that why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Because I didn't have because I was supposed to get it do it either Thursday or Friday, but and by the next day it was like, yep, not enough time. And right. They blame me for that. They blame non-compliance because it was something that a medicine that I was taking, should have fixed. So compliance, man, and like Cook said, man, be your own advocate. You
gotta speak up. You gotta you can't, you got to be, like I say, be your own advocate. But Mr. Kidney, he says, be your best advocate. And I even agree with that even more, because, the closed mouth does not get fed. You have to speak up. And sometimes, you got to speak up to the point where you be like, hey, yeah, hey, look, listen to what I'm saying, because sometimes, and no disrespect to these hospitals or doctors, anything like that, but you can get caught up and just be a number because they're working with so many people that if you don't stand out of the crowd, making sure they understand where you're coming from and what's going on with just your case, that you could just get caught up and be a number, because they're working with so many people. They're working with so many people that have, kid organ failure. So therefore, you got to be up on it, man. It makes, you got to speak up and let them know who you are. And that's true. You got to speak up. You got to, and even if, sometimes my team didn't like me because I was always speaking up for myself. Like, hey, y'all see what's going on now? This ain't right, and because I had to be about me when it came to this, because no offense, man, but them doctors they ain't on dialysis, and when my team ain't on dialysis, I'm on dialysis. Therefore, I got to make y'all, step up to the plate too and be accountable for all this. So therefore, I had to be my own advocate, and sometimes I had to roar a little bit, not in a derogatory way or disrespectful, but I had to let them know where I was coming from, and that goes a long way. So that's a big one. Another thing, I want to talk about is, while you're going through this, your nutrition. Your nutrition is imperative, man. I see people, not eating the proper foods. When you have organ failure, your nutrition is going to play the biggest part on how you feel. It's going to play the biggest part on how physical you are, as far as your ability to be able to walk, your ability, your energy, all these things. So when you do have organ failure, talk to your nutritionist, and sometimes we don't come from a background of eating good foods, a good healthy foods. So we have to adopt some of the foods that are good for us, not the honey buns and the sugary Coca-Colas and stuff like that. We have to eat in a better way, and it comes to a part where you have to eat to live, not live to eat. So therefore, you got to be careful on some of the foods you eating already. You got to change your attitude and change your thought process on your nutrition, because what you put in your mouth, you are what you eat. And when your organs are not working, you are what you eat is really, really imperative, man. It's gonna be crazy. So you always got to be eating right. It's kind of crazy because I've seen people, on dialysis and stuff, eating junk food, and they'll be like, "Nah, you don't want to eat that." They used to look at me like, "How you stay so strong and fit on dialysis?" Well, first of all, you don't see me eating no crap. I had a regimen. I was real strict with mine, man. Every morning I was eating my oatmeal, my eggs, for lunch. Right after, if I had to do dialysis that day, right afterwards, I was getting great healthy protein, whether it was fish, chicken, might be some lean beef every now and then. But I had my vegetables. I had good carbohydrates. I was taking my binders all the time. I stayed on my nutrition like, nobody's business. And I wasn't putting too much junk in my body because, hey, I didn't have any organs working. What I look like putting junk in my body. And I see people do
Right.
yeah, yeah. And
Right.
I see people do that. I see people eating crazy stuff. And, look, they're already taking your blood clean and you don't have organs working. And now you're going to give yourself a double-edged sword with you not putting good nutrition back into your body.
Right.
That's not good at all. So your nutrition is the key strategy. You gotta eat good, and it takes sometimes when we don't have these habits of eating well, it takes a lot of it takes a lot to start eating good, especially when you've been eating McDonald's and your nutrition is. And I ain't disrespecting McDonald's; they got some good stuff on their thing too, but we choose not to get it most of the time. We don't
Right.
be getting we don't be getting the chicken salads from them. We be getting the Big Macs and the pie,
Right.
stuff like that.
Hey, but you
Yeah.
know what? And the thing is, it's not necessarily that. Okay, yeah, it's not. I don't put it like that. It is not the best of foods to be eaten, but the other thing that's very important that people don't understand is portion size,
Big time.
right?
Yep.
So if you like, you don't have time to cook, you got to go to, you had lunch for work or something like that, get a Happy Meal or something. Like you don't have to get, the adult size menu stuff all the time. Especially when you don't need to be. Uh, I'm sorry, but I have to because this was I was not expecting this, but it was very funny. Um,
Erica said, "What's good at McDonald's?" I think the only thing good at McDonald's, I'm sorry, man, is I would get like if I did go there, I would get like a salad, with grilled chicken on it. That's as far as I would go because the only thing I say, and you're right about portion size, but the phosphorus in that food is so high
right? Yeah,
that if you eat something from there, man, your phosphorus is going to be super super extreme, and that's not good if you got organ failure, on any level. So because especially if you got heart failure, I know high phosphorus can stop your heart literally, and it can rob the calcium from the bones, and your bones break. So that that's the only thing I would get from a fast food place personally. But again, you have to keep good nutrition because a lot of times with type 2 diabetes, a person's nutrition and lack of exercise have kept have created this situation where you are on dialysis or you did have kidney failure or something like that because of your nutrition. That's why I go again. Your nutrition is, you have to put good foods in your body, especially when you have an organ not working. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. No, and I want to touch on since I was going to bring this up, and uh, Jonathan Trailer just commented and said he used to biggie size and supersize everything. But when it comes to the nutrition side of this, outside of just a story in general, man, that Jonathan has a real testimony when it comes to nutrition because, we've talked and, he told me about the things that he used to eat all the time and things like that. And now that guy, man, has changed his nutritional eating habits so much
And he
from
banged
what
his
he
weights
used
now. He
to,
look good. He
and it's an awesome thing, man, to see
yeah,
that he was able to take from his situation
yeah.
and turn it into something, I mean, I say it's something good because he was able to get away from those eating habits,
I
change
think
those eating habits to something else and make something of it. Like you said, looking good. Because he's telling me, he's like, man, I used to be big when I, before I got sick. And now like you say, he's solid and doing his thing, he
yeah, he
eating
banging
right,
them weights. He banging the
right.
weights. I ain't mad at it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I feel a lot of times when I could speak for organ failure, I think a lot of times it's your nutrition and your lifestyle that got you into organ failure. You know, uh, especially with the high blood pressure and diabetes, that's mostly coming from your lifestyle of type 2 diabetes, I'll say. And that comes from a lifestyle of being sedentary and not eating good foods, eating bull crap. That's where that stems from. And when you talk to, hey, number one and number two killer of kidney failure is diabetes and high blood pressure. If
Hypertension.
we would catch those people from the beginning, 10 to 20 years from before, and had them eating right and had them doing some type of exercise, kidney failure wouldn't even be in their life. That would be non-existent. They wouldn't even be thinking about none of this. They'd be going on with their lives doing so many other things. And that's where the challenges come from. It's the high blood pressure, which is created, and the sedentary lifestyle. So those three things, man, high blood pressure, diabetes, sedentary lifestyle, and poor nutrition is keeping people in mostly kidney failure or all kinds of organ failure. To me, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, it takes really nothing to get up, go in the kitchen and cook. Especially if
I'm
you
cooking good
learn.
stuff, not just cooking.
You said what?
Cooking good foods, not just cooking.
Right, 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 right. Of course, yeah, definitely. And not using, and this is one of the issues. This kind of goes with the hypertension thing is sodium. Us as color people, I don't just mean black people. I mean anybody. You know, the thing about the sodium thing is you think that you gotta dip your food in salt and then have sauce which has salt, and then you don't need to have salt on everything. I've learned to cook without salt years ago. I've been cooking since I was like 7 years old. So, it was just something that I learned at an early age. Of course, I'm not gonna make it seem like I'm, this perfect person or anything like that. I didn't cook all the time like that when I was younger, even though I knew how. Um, but I made that transition uh, a little later, around 1920. I made that transition to finally start, cooking at home, preparing my own meals, things like that. A lot more than normal. Even after that, it escalated to cooking even more. So you go at home, you don't have to fry your chicken. You can grill it. You ain't got to, season the whole container of seasoning, salt, and things like that, on your chicken before you throw it on the grill. Light salt, light pepper, maybe some garlic powder, whatever. Put it on the grill how you like it. Make you some vegetables and call it a day. Go on about your business.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, I agree with you, man. I think more people, are so heavy-handed with this seasoning stuff. It goes crazy where to the point you can't even taste the regular what the food really tastes like. All you do is taste sodium, and that's the thing, man. That's where I see so many problems with the with the sodium situation. Everybody I've seen people, not even taste their food yet. Maybe pow, throwing the salt on it like crazy. I'll be like, God dog, you ain't even taste your food yet. And I feel, again, with high blood pressure and diabetes running a rampant rage, if we was to catch the people 15, 10 years ago who are on dialysis or heart failure and stuff like that earlier, and had them have good nutrition habits and and not be sedentary. Now, I'm not telling you go out here and lift weights like my crazy self, because I like lifting heavy weights. I ain't gonna act like I don't. But I'm just talking about walking, doing some little exercise and stuff like that, not being sedentary. They wouldn't even have any kind of organ failure in their lives. They wouldn't even be thinking about it because, again, high blood pressure and diabetes are the two leading causes of kidney failure. Over 37 million Americans have kidney failure as we speak right now. And a lot of that, it comes from type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure.
Yeah, it's
And that
something
can
that
be
needs.
prevented. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Um, and like you said, if we can get this information and stuff like that out ahead of time, in a good amount of years, if people actually follow it, because that's the thing, we can put the information out there. The question is, are they going to follow it and actually listen? But if they do, that'll bring that number down so much, and but it's gonna take the same amount of hard work to get it reversed as it did to make it happen in the first place. You know,
Yeah, man. Because what people don't understand. The first things is first. Like I've worked with several people who've had uh, organ failure, and when I look at their, they tell me what they eat, and I'm sitting there like, you're way off out of bounds. I tell them, hey, let's try this diet. Give it 14 days. Give me 14 days with your new diet. in 14 days, your palate would change. You won't want
Mhm.
all those salty, sugary foods
Right.
because your palate changes. After 14 days, I have taken people where they go, man, I don't even want no sodium stuff like that. I don't want all that sugar no more. That stuff's crazy. I can't believe the way I was eating. And all of a sudden, they drop weight. Man, their energy is out of this world. They're like, man, I got so much energy now. I feel so much
Right.
better. I even look better. My skin is clear. I'm drinking a half a gallon of water a day. I feel great. I don't even want to go back to eating all that sodium and stuff like that.
Right.
But you know, you're the outcast when you talk like that. I remember going to picnics and stuff when I wouldn't eat this food because I'll see all the people with all the sodium and sugar and stuff. And they be like dogging me. Here he is. Look, he ain't gonna eat this stuff. I'll be like, you're right. I ain't gonna eat this stuff. Nah, Shell, I'm an expert on kidney failure and dialysis, but I'm not a healthcare professional. But kidney care coaches, we do coach people with stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease. And if you have a question, yeah, I'd love to answer it.
The other thing is that he's not mentioning uh is that he used to have, his own fitness studio, so he
Yeah,
knows the nutritional side of it, and being in a weight room and things like that,
mm-hmm.
that all go into the nutritional side of being a kidney patient and things of that nature. So to kind of
Even with Shell right now, what's crazy is when you are waiting for an organ for a long time and all of a sudden you get your organ, the 100% change where, okay, now you got to drink water, now you got to do this, now you got to take these different medications. It's like a
right.
whole rush to a whole other side of living. And that's probably what she's experiencing right now. She just received her transplant at John Hopkins. Congratulations. We want to give you nothing but love on that. And now, you get a whole new set of medications, anti-rejection medications. Now she got to pump fluid in her because if she doesn't pump fluid, she goes into rejection from dehydration.
Right.
All this, it's like a rapid change
Mm-hmm.
from what you've been doing. And
Right.
that's a shock to some people. I've seen people not be able to keep up with that regimen because now you got a whole different side of the regimen.
Now you got to, remember your, new meds, and,
New
now
meds,
you,
and it's a new way of living.
right.
You got to at least drink almost a gallon of water a day. You come from no water to
Right.
drinking.
Well, first off, you go from a lot of water to no water back to a lot of water.
Right.
You like, this is exhausting.
Right.
You got, but it, like I mentioned before, man, if you want it, you'll work for it.
You will.
That goes for anything else in life in general. If it's something that you want,
That's it.
Then it's
Did somebody have a question on here about
well,
Jacob
I
said
want to touch on this.
he's looking for a donor now, and it's so hard.
Well, go ahead.
That's what this gentleman, he just hit me with.
Well, it's actually, I think it's a lady, actually.
Okay, Jay, I apologize.
I think I could
are
be
you
wrong.
on the transplant list? Are you on the list of different hospitals, or your hospital in your city?
It's her son.
Oh, son. Okay, is
Yeah,
he on the list?
7 years old.
He's 7. Right. I think they said something about ibuprofen. I didn't see it all.
I gotta go back and check. Give me a second. But we are the right two people to go to, I guess, for that situation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, she put up 2, so more than that, really. Okay, so I'll start with this one.
Okay, he's a kidney failure, and he's been on dialysis, and he's going 3 times a week now. Okay, he's 7 years old. Okay. Okay, community, my son. Wow, yeah, I believe that the handicapped community doesn't get the love, and people overlook a lot of that. So I feel you on that for sure. She said Dayton Children's failed her son at birth because they knew about his kidney since birth and never put him on a renal diet and gave him ibuprofen. Yeah, the ibuprofen can mess up your kidney, especially if you have any kidney damage. That's true. Daggone, I'm sorry about that. That's really unfortunate. And then they never said nothing to you about it. Wow, man, that's not good. You know.
Well, Jalen, one thing I do want to touch on when it comes to that, just more because of it's hard to find a living donor because not everybody is willing or able to to do it. And so what I'm going to extend, I'm pretty sure Mr. Cook won't have a problem with this. Is for you and your son to come on second chance to tell your son's story to try to find him a donor and get you guys story out there to find a living donor. And there's plenty of ways out there, and those things can be discussed. Another person as well to go to is a good friend, Jonathan Traylor, who just commented. His show's called A Hope with Jonathan. He actually helps people with kidney failure, looking for living kidney donors. That's what he does. He also is touching on the educational side now. So definitely, if you can get in touch with him as well, or once you get in touch with us, we'll refer you to him as well in some kind of way so he can help you as well.
Does he have any siblings that's willing to be a organ donor?
Older siblings.
Yeah, older siblings, anything like that, because that can be an avenue. You know, my sister gave me my first kidney when my first kidney failed. So, that can be an avenue also, and cousins and stuff like that. Yes, we would love to have him on the show. Because this show reaches quite a bit of people, and definitely we would love to talk to you guys about his situation and get the word out there that he does need a living organ for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. John just said start with family, like DeFaro said. So yeah, as soon like I said, either contact me or Mr. Cook. She's actually watching on Kidney Care Coaches.
Yep.
So either one of us will, he'll just add me to it or forward me to, the message or whatever, and we can go from there and bring you on. Like I said, I'll definitely include Jonathan in it as well, and send you his way also. And he has works with another a handful of organizations as well that do the same thing that can possibly help you also. So
Also, if he's
Jonathan,
waiting, we could also, invite him to Why Not Foundation. That's youth needed organ and tissue transplants. Also, see if they can provide some assistance for you as well.
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, these are hurdles. Um, but while he does wait, make sure he's running his full treatment on dialysis. Make sure his labs are good. Make sure he's taking his medications and those things, and and keep up with transplant. Does and let me ask you a question: does it have to be a living donor? It can't be a deceased donor.
Well, I'm pretty sure whichever comes first is more,
Right. But
Right.
she specifically said a living donor.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think any of us, in the case of having to deal with this, would prefer living doing because 9 times out of 10, it would probably come first.
Right.
Than sitting there trying to wait on somebody to pass to get one. But she said, yeah, it could be either. Um, you
Okay.
know,
Could be either. Okay. Yeah.
right.
So is he on the transplant list now? That's the question I have. Just want to know if he's on the transplant list now, and if you have any barriers to him being on the transplant list. Yes, he's just a quicker than. Okay, right. It is quicker. We agree with that. We agree with that. Yes, and
So
time is of the essence. He's a young man right now.
and that's actually a good thing, because mine is at priority.
Right.
So for the most part, he's probably up there already anyways because he's under the age of 18. That was how I got my first transplant. I was 17 when I had mine. 16 when I got on the list, and I had it 6 months after I went on dialysis. I was 17 years old. So, being under 18 is something that's uh, is pretty big. When it comes to these things because it doesn't cause a somebody so young to have to wait so long. Now there are some out there that have waited, years, and have to deal with their illnesses and things, but um, so, what was I about to say? So I guess that kind of at least for this one. So we're gonna what happened? Um,
She said talk to his transplant surgeon on the 13th, and he needs a CT scan first, but everything else is done. That's good. I'm glad you're keeping up on everything, and that's being your best advocate, and I like that a lot.
oh, that's no problem. It's actually what we do, really, and
Yeah,
that's not just saying that. It's actually what we do. But
yeah,
so definitely, like I said, get in touch with myself or Mr. Cook. Or if you do it on Facebook, you have both of us as a friend. Just do a group chat or something, and we can communicate that way, and then things of that nature. So, um,
hey, Phil, we got to make this a part two, man.
oh yeah, most definitely. I was it's funny because I was actually just thinking the same thing. So we'll talk and definitely figure out a day to do part two. It'll more than likely be. It may be during the week, but it may be on the Sunday as well. I know we might have some openings coming up on the
Yeah, because I
Sunday.
really want to get into some more wellness stuff. I got a lot of information on wellness that can help a lot of people who are in organ failure. So that'll really be a key thing. So we're going to definitely have to do part two of wellness for organ failure patients and people with organ failure.
Definitely, it's what we do. So, um, everybody that was watching or will watch, we definitely appreciate you sitting here with us. We ask that if you could take like 10, 15 more minutes. We'll be right back after we get off here to make our announcement. We'll be doing it on another live, and it's something that we've been working on for about a month now. Myself, Mr. Cook, Jonathan Traylor, we're collaborating to put this together, and we're going to make the announcement of what that is literally right after this. So it won't be on this one that we're doing now. It'll be on a separate live stream. So please look for that. We greatly appreciate your support. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell on our YouTube channel. Mr. Cook will be coming out with a YouTube channel pretty quick for kidney care
Yes.
coaches as well. Um, I mentioned Jonathan Traylor. He has one as well. Hope for Jonathan. I mean, he has a slew of YouTube channels that he does a lot of work on. So please look for those as well. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get an update when we go live or when he goes live. And we look forward to seeing you all again in a couple minutes. So we appreciate your time. Have a great night.
Peace.